Hello, welcome, and today we're going to be learning how to shoot pieces of artwork. Here we go. I'm Joe from Camera Lessons Online, and as I said, we're going to be learning to shoot artwork today. This is something that I've done for clients several times before. This is something that I'm asked how to do semi-regularly. And so I want to teach you the basic lighting setup that we use in order to shoot pieces of artwork. So this is something that people are trying to do to preserve family artwork. This is also a fun project if you're watching this close to when I'm posting it. And there's not a lot of things to be able to do right now going outside. So I'm going to be doing several videos on in-home projects photographically. For quarantine specials. So today is going to be artwork, and I want to tell you how we're essentially setting this up, and I want to walk you through the lighting pieces. In order to do really good pieces of art, or to be able to do really good pieces of most product photography, you really only need two lights, but they do need to be set up in a particular way. We have a camera position, which since I'm placing these onto the floor next to my white backdrop, I place my camera very low to the ground around here. And then you need two lights, one from the point of view of the camera. We normally do not place lights at the point of view of the camera, but product photography is one of those instances where we would place a light, and I've got a 500 watt second light here. 500 watt second is nice. I like working with those. You can run this with a lower power unit, but I was running these with the lights turned on in here, and running a powerful unit allows you to work with your overhead lights turned on. This is something I cover when I talked about safety in studio lighting scenarios. Your second light is actually the one that's really, really key. And that's going to be our piece here. It wants to sit as much as possible directly above the product with an umbrella coming back down. Ideally, it would be placed in product photography in between the product and the background. Since I'm leaning the product here against the background, I actually place it as close as I can just above, with some of the umbrella hanging over the light. And so I kind of place that as close as I can get. Now, there's a couple ways to approach that, and we'll get into it. But these are our two lights, the down light here and our front light here. And I do place the down light 1/3 of a stop brighter than the front light. And that's done to really make sure that I clean up this white background. I want that as clean as possible. And so I set those only a half a stop different from each other on the product. And then I'm shooting at a 200th of a second f11 ISO 100. Since I'm working with 500 watt second units, I can shoot at that dim of an aperture. It kills all ambient light. I get one color temperature to work with, and I get a very clean shot. Once I have that clean shot, both in exposure and in white balance, it's very, very easy to work with in post-production. And I can, after I get those two lights set in manual, I can go through a series of products or paintings or whatever I want very, very easily. Now, we have to be careful with paintings depending on the way that the artwork looks. I'm working with very matte canvas and very matte paint. And so I'm not getting any reflectivity. If you're working with oil-based paints where you get a lot of reflectivity, then there's a couple tricks for you to try. The first one is a polarized filter on your lens to try to get rid of any reflection. The second is to take your lights and put the internal baffles on them with softboxes. So shoot with softboxes, internal baffles and external baffles, and that cuts down on the reflectivity of the light. The third thing is the angle. Only when we're working with seriously reflective artwork or seriously reflective pieces, we start taking the lights and trying to move them to more extreme angles so that the angle of reflection passes right by the lens. And you'll deal with that in reflective circumstances, particularly for shooting eyewear or shooting jewelry or things like that. That's its own very tricky situation, and one day I hope to cover that. With paintings, we typically don't have a lot of reflectivity to work with. And I do like this particular setup. You can do two flashes or two strobes on either end. and getting the reflection to pass right by the camera from either one. You work with large enough modifiers, large umbrellas or large soft boxes, so that you don't get hot spots in the middle of the artwork. That is the risk with that particular style of shooting. I like to work this way so that I get even light all the way over the canvas. So we set up the camera on axis and shoot. Now I'm going to show you one other trick. If you have a light stand with a boom pole where you can set the light vertically, that is best. I don't have access to that today, and so instead I've tried a couple different things. If I take my light and I make it as vertical as possible, excuse me, if I take my light, put it as vertical as possible, I still have a little bit of angle to it, and I end up casting a small shadow on the opposite side of the artwork. That's not ideal. So instead, what you can do is set your timer to a 10-second timer and actually take your strobe, and instead of having it on a light stand at all, take it and physically hold it directly above the piece of artwork or the product for that shot, and then set it down and check your results. Doing so will guarantee that you get a directly on axis light, which will make sure that you get the fewest number of shadows possible. So you can hold it directly above, use a boom arm, or if you're willing to accept a small shadow on the opposing side, take the light and move it in. The closer it gets to the artwork, the better, but the closer you get, the more that you're likely to get some of the light stand legs into the shot. You can Photoshop those out, of course, but I like to work as cleanly as possible and be able to avoid that if I can, because this particular project I'm shooting about 10 pieces of artwork for a client, and I do not want to spend my time Photoshopping out legs if I can at all help it. Anyway, that is a basic tutorial on a good two-light setup for shooting product and for shooting paintings. I hope that you're doing well and finding some good things to do photographically. If you are in an area with restricted travel and quarantine provisions set up, I'm going to be doing several videos on projects to do at home. And of course, please check out Camera Lessons Online. We've got some good reading material if you've got some extra time on your hands, several books, and of course our 4-hour Introduction to Photography course. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye.